Sorry. Anyway, if that happens again while we're recording, it's not a big deal. We'll fix it in post. All right, dude. You ready to get started?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. What's up, UX fam? How's your mom and them? Welcome to another episode of Beyond UX Design. I'm Jeremy. If you're new here, welcome. I am so excited to have you. Have you picked up your copy of Beyond UX Design, Master Your Craft Beyond Pixels and Prototypes in paperback yet? Unlock the secrets of UX success and learn all the things they didn't teach you in school. Get free shipping on all orders over $30 and use the code LISTENER to get 10% off your entire order. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/book to learn more. This week's episode is brought to you by Wix Studio. If you're thinking about redoing your portfolio or kicking off a new website project, listen up. I only have 30 seconds to tell you about Wix Studio, the web platform for agencies and enterprises. So here are a few things that you can do from start to finish in 30 seconds or less on Studio. You can adapt your designs for every device with responsive AI. You can jump seamlessly between front end and back end. You can speed up projects with an AI code assistant. You can start a design library, and you can reuse full stack apps and UI components across multiple sites. So time's up, but the list keeps going. Step into Wix Studio and see for yourself. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/Wix to start creating today. This episode is brought to you by the UX Playbook, your roadmap to UX career success. Created by my buddy Chris Wynn, UX Playbook offers comprehensive guides on UX fundamentals, portfolio creation, and job hunting. And with hundreds of videos, Notion guides, and real-world examples, it's your one-stop shop for career clarity. And because you're an amazing listener, get 10% off their Fast Track bundle using the code BEYOND at checkout. So head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/playbook and save nearly $25 to pick up the UX Playbook and transform your career from fuzzy to focused. And if you haven't done it already, please consider subscribing to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you are a regular here and you feel like you're getting something out of the show, I would really appreciate you leaving a 5-star review. That'll help me out so much more than you can imagine. And as always, thanks so much to Chris, Siraquan, Stacy, Radu, Megan, Andrew, John, Mark, Kevin, Jason, Michelle, and Marty for all their support. And if you want to join these fine folks and many others and help keep the show independent and ad-free, you'll get rough transcripts and exclusive access to the entire video library of episodes, including episodes before they're even released. And you get instant access to the video archives right now for as little as $5 a month. For more information on how you can support the show and help more people find out about what we're doing here, make sure to check out beyonduxdesign.com/support. And of course, if you think the show is worth sharing, then I would love it if you told some friends. So neurodivergent. Are you neurodivergent? I'm neurodivergent. My guest today, Henry Lam, is neurodivergent. But what does that even mean? Well, specifically for me, that means I have ADHD. When I was diagnosed when I was a little kid, it was ADD. I guess they added the H in there somewhere along the way. But what does ADHD even mean? What I found doing some research for this episode today was that 1 in 4 American adults have ADHD or think they have ADHD, and they just don't think they've been diagnosed. We're going to talk today about ADHD, what it means, how if you might actually have it, and what that actually means. But if you do have it, or even if you just have the symptoms of ADHD, what can you do to actually ensure that you get your work done and actually be a high-functioning, high-performing designer? So we're going to talk to Henry Lam all about that today, and I am so excited. Henry Lam is a holistic performance ADHD coach for tech pros and high achievers, and he's an adventurer in the land of scattered thoughts. Just sounds right up my alley, Henry. Welcome to Beyond UX Design. I am so excited to have you on. How's it going, man?
It's going tremendous, man. Great to be here and show love and spread knowledge and smiles to folks.
Smiles. And you can see all those smiles on YouTube, and you can see it before it's even released if you become a Patreon patron for $5 a month. All right. So Henry, I know I read that very brief bio, the adventure. I love that, dude. Adventure in the land of scattered thoughts. So you are a career coach that specializes in dealing with people with ADHD. And before we get into it, tell us a little bit about you and how'd you end up becoming an ADHD career coach?
So I became an ADHD coach because I struggled for many years being undiagnosed. So I was brilliant and creative, but I didn't know that I was creative. And I was distracted in school. I was daydreaming, brain fog. But at the same time, I was also hyperactive. I didn't have a purpose, and I picked the wrong major for college. I took one career test and it said accounting, and I just sticked with it. Which ironically, some ADHD folks do accounting because they find it interesting and structured, but at the same time, they might just like listen to a lot of podcasts, like, UX podcasts, maybe. Suddenly wants to learn something new. And then I finished college and switched to business administration at the end. And I dropped out I dropped out for a year and then I came back and finished it. And struggling a couple years, but right when I got out of college, I got diagnosed with ADHD because I saw like 10 therapists throughout my whole life until then. And it was like, oh, it's like, it's just like you sitting there. It's like, what am I doing? It's like being in class, daydreaming and not getting anything out of it. And given, medicine that I didn't take, anxiety, depression, not having a purpose is important. When ADHD folks don't have purpose and structure, and then they kind of just do whatever they want, which meaning TikTok or ironically created by very good UX folks. So finding purpose is important, and me learning about myself after college, and I was like, I loved helping people, I love problem solving, and using creativity and
So
innovation.
it's interesting you mentioned having a purpose because I've had a lot of different jobs over the course of my career and worked at a lot of different places and different teams doing different things. And the ones where I feel like I struggle the most are the ones where I don't have clear goals. I don't have clear direction. I'm sort of just given the opportunity to do whatever I want and just sort of figure it out for myself. And what I find is I often will focus on either my own stuff, my own side projects that I do care about, where, I don't have a clear goal. I have to come with that myself, but I have some kind of drive and purpose. And at work, I'm left like kind of just not really giving a shit about whatever it is this random nebulous thing that I've been asked to do. And I end up waiting until the last minute. I don't turn in stuff necessarily as fast as I would if I really cared about it because I'm not really excited about it. It's really interesting that you mentioned that. And as someone who's had ADHD for my entire life, like I said, I got diagnosed when I was a kid. I don't really know a whole lot about the symptoms and what other people experience. I only know my own personal experience. I never would consider myself an expert by any means on ADHD, which is why I'm really excited to kind of talk with you about this today. So I'm curious, before we start getting into the conversation, I mentioned before, 1 in 4 Americans think they have ADHD but haven't been diagnosed. That's a pretty big number. 25%, 1 in 4 Americans might have ADHD and have not been diagnosed. Can you talk a little bit about what ADHD is? And then some symptoms and things. Like if people are listening and they haven't been diagnosed, they might not think they have ADHD. They might just think something else is wrong. And obviously, caveat this, you're not a psychiatrist or anything. So, we're not giving medical advice here by any means. But I think it would be interesting to kind of dig into that a little bit so that anybody listening might actually want to go and talk to somebody and say, hey, I think I might have it. What is ADHD? What are the symptoms? And how might someone know if they have it? What are some things to look out for?
Yeah, so ADHD, well, as classified in the psychology or psychiatric medicine, is we can just simply just say like the symptoms is that the folks are hyperactive, meaning they talk a lot, move a lot, they can't sit still, which is a stereotype of the little boy that only little boys have it, you grow out of it, etc. And then number 2 is that they're impulsive, meaning they don't think before they do things, they just rush. And then the one that's not as common, people know, is that they're inattentive, which means that they might be daydreaming, disorganized, trouble with memory, etc. So those are just like the basic thing to it, but this diverse range of ADHD folks. So some of them are really good at doing physical stuff. Some are really good with their mind. Some are really good creating art. So there's different folks for ADHD, just like there were 6 career categories when you were in school. If you remember that, it's like 6 careers. So there's ADHD folks in all of them, and everyone has their own strengths. But a lot of it still is that they obsess with some sort of purpose, whether it's creating something, being something, or helping people.
Yeah, so I want to dig a little bit more into this idea of just creatives struggling with ADHD. But I'm curious if you've got advice for people who are out there and they are struggling, they feel like, they're missing deadlines or they're not performing as well, or maybe relationships are suffering because they aren't as attentive as they should be. What are some other advice that you would give creatives who are struggling with ADHD to try to nip this in the bud?
Yeah, so struggling with creativity and ADHD can be a challenge with being in tech because all those deadlines and the stress is like creativity. You can be more creative when you're more relaxed and in the zone. So if you're not in the zone as often as you should, then there's a problem here. So we got to make sure that you prep yourself for creativity. You don't just go into creativity. So meaning that you first of all relax yourself, take a walk, look in nature, drink water, massage tight parts of your body like your neck or your hand or your head. So, and even give you a self hug, which is really great. Like the self hug right here. This is like one of the best anxiety de-stress things ever. You just do that for like a minute. It's like, oh, you already know a lot of things that are tricks to release stress, but you just don't know how to do it.
For anyone at home who is not watching right now, still, describe the self hug. How would you
Yeah.
describe that?
So where your shoulder meets your neck. So kind of where your collar would be on a dress shirt. So you just press down like you're gripping like you're holding for dear life on a little ledge, but onto yourself, and you do that for at least a minute and do some slow breathing with your nose only. It's a very nice feeling, and having good posture though too. If you're having computer neck, texting neck, then that's not going to help because that puts stresses on your brain and your body and your anxiety and your heart. So making sure you work on posture is important, not just the typical water check. I mean, or drink water. I mean, that's not, I mean, you got to make it more fun. You got to combine stuff and also actually put like minerals in your water because you need minerals. It's a lot of Asian folks or in people in general not getting enough magnesium. So that's important too. Having magnesium and minerals in your water is important to help you sleep better, which a lot of Asian folks have sleep problems. They go to bed with all that stress. Why am I working on a UX project the night before in my bed? Well, I don't know. But maybe you can try some magnesium. I know we're taking melatonin, but get some vitamin D supplement, high quality one, or get sunlight after lunch, which is a great routine. Sunlight after lunch, take a walk, smile. So, doing that is great for creativity versus just not preparing before you get into work. So you do creativity, you do some light exercise, you move around, you listen to some music to pump you up for creativity, and making sure that is this the best time to be creative? Is it in the beginning of the day at work or is it after? If lunch is bogging you down, then how are you going to be creative? That's why some of those artists and creative folks, they don't eat for hours. It pulls me down, which yes, it does. At the same time, you might, of course, need some protein and for your brain, or omega-3s, which is important too, or coconut oil, which is great for the brain. So of course, people think, oh, all the supplements. It's not all about the supplements, dude. Nothing can be a Adderall, okay? Adderall is just high stress, okay? And none of them can beat that. Or just not dying, which it was a great one, not dying. I'm going to die. Of course, if there was a line right there, you're going to sit there and procrastinate. I think not. Not so you got to stimulate yourself by making simulations in your life of what you want to feel, which is very important. Bring back some creative moments in your life or stuff that gets you in a zone and do a little creativity. If you did drawing, that makes you feel more creative, then do drawing. You got to figure out what works for you. So your high energy period, you do creative work. Admin tasks when energy is low, and then you throw on some classical music or lo-fi or whatever you want. Try to avoid caffeine post or Adderall post 11 a.m. so it doesn't stick with you when you're sleeping, which is then how you're going to keep it going when you're just hurting yourself by stimulating yourself for too long.
So the caffeine, that is something I struggle with personally because I love coffee. I just like to drink coffee. I just enjoy it. It's I love making coffee. I love walking to the coffee shop, there's like a ritual around coffee. And I have found that I will drink coffee. I'll drink it in the morning before we drop my kids off. I'll drink coffee. I'll go to the coffee shop. My wife, usually every day, will grab a coffee. I'll have a coffee after lunch. I'll have a coffee before I pick my kids up from school. I am drinking coffee so much. And it's interesting because I never really thought about the stimulants. You mentioned the stimulants earlier. And That is something I guess I'm like stimulant seeking, I guess, in a way, and I'm trying to get that caffeine. But what's interesting is I've found that up until recently, until maybe 2 years ago, caffeine did not affect me at all. I could have a shot of espresso after dinner and go to bed and sleep like a baby. And then I don't know if it's because I'm 42 now, but just the last couple of years, I have found that if I will have coffee in the afternoon, it will keep me up for hours. And I don't know what's changed with my body. I guess it's just, I'm just getting old. I'm like an old fart now. I don't know. But now that I'm in my 40s, I've found that drinking coffee in the afternoon will keep me up. And so I don't know what that has to do with ADHD. Probably, probably not very much. But it's just sort of an interesting thing. I used to drink it all the time and then I suddenly don't. And I don't know. I've never actually taken Adderall. I've never taken Ritalin. When I was a kid, my parents tested me for ADHD. And going back to something you said a while ago, the stereotyped little boy who talks all the time in school and just can't sit still, that was me. I would tap on things all the time. I would tap my foot, which I still do to the day. It drives my wife absolutely insane. But I'm constantly moving and tapping and all that stuff. So they said, we don't want to give him drugs. Let's find something else for him to do, which I really appreciate. One of the few decisions my parents made that I think I actually that I actually agree with. And so they gave me drum lessons. And I started taking drum lessons as a way to get the energy out. And it didn't help with the tapping in school or anything like that, but it was at least a fun hobby. But they never did put me on meds. So luckily I've never had to deal with the Adderall, the Ritalin, and the side effects and things that go along with that. Now, that was something that leads me to this next thing I'm curious about. I know you're not a psychiatrist or psychologist or a doctor, but I am curious your experience dealing with various people. What has been your experience with people who find other ways to sort of avoid the medication and deal with the symptoms of ADHD versus the people who have taken the meds? Do you see some type of major difference in your clients that are on meds and not? And I don't want you to break any HIPAA laws, so please don't do that. But I'm just curious if you could generalize. Is there some noticeable difference or something that benefit one or the other? Do you feel like there's maybe positive and negatives to both? I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the meds there. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. So meds, of course, doesn't work the whole day, and it kind of gives you instant gratification and to keep going. That's why you keep going. But it doesn't create the structure, and if you don't have any structure. So if you take it versus not take it, I mean, you could take it, but you could get things done that are not important. Of course, the people who take it versus not take it. So some of the people who don't take it, there might be more like the high achievers, like, I don't want to take it, or creatives. It's like, oh, it's going to ruin my creativity or makes me zombie or whatever. The meaning, of course, some of those things is like, it seems maybe you have other challenges with your health that's causing that to happen, which is not supposed to be normal, meaning you have the sleep problems, the breathing problems, allergy, asthma, your immune system. Because a lot of the ADHD ladies get burned out from having a lot of these challenges, especially the high achieving ladies, because they're doing too much and not having boundaries. So usually the high achievers, they're more successful than the other folks because they have a purpose and a mission to keep going at it and have better emotional control.
Which has nothing to do with the meds at all.
No, it's nothing
right?
to do with the meds at all.
Exactly, yeah.
So, and then the other ones, meds are the non-stimulus, they don't work as you want it to be to have like that Adderall feel, which people get disappointed. But it's more steady, but it's not as much oomph. So it's like, that's why the people, you're looking for a miracle. You don't want to do anything else. It's just like most people. You got to make things as easy as possible in context with the person. So you got to make sure it's like, an object in motion stays in motion until acting upon an equal opposite force, which is a basic thing for life. If you're like, I don't want to get out of bed, move your pinky, then move another finger, or whatever, and start counting. And say, oh, I'm going to start doing it. Or like if you stop hearing music at 100 BPM, it stimulates your brain to think you're moving. And when you're moving, you're more likely doing something. With ADHD folks, it's like, oh, when I'm cleaning, I'm getting out of the house, I want to do everything. Yeah, of course, because your brain's being stimulated and there's a purpose. I mean, when you're in nature, you're stimulated. When you're buying people you care about, you're stimulated and you have a purpose together. So what's modern life is missing that a lot. And that's why ADHD folks, a lot of them become entrepreneurs so they can have their own mission. Some of these famous life coaches and productive, maybe some of them are like high functioning ADHD people, like creating systems themselves, like Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy. So making sure that you create a stimulating system for yourself. That's the end of the day. It's about you. And at the same time, having some work life balance if you want it. You don't have to do that, but, listening to your body and, is it good time to focus? Or you make yourself feel better during meetings, not complaining about it every time and asking, can you give me notes up for the meeting and slides? Can I sit a different position? Can I not attend this meeting? And of course, you don't have to mention you have ADHD. So just stuff that's like, it's like, hey, it's going to help me be more productive and stuff.
You mentioned something a minute ago about work-life balance. I wanna dig into that a little bit. And you said something interesting that like you don't have to. And I'm just curious. I want to talk a little bit about ADHD work-life balance because the reason why I ask this is it's interesting. As someone who gets intensely focused on a thing, right? Like I think about, for instance, like recently this past year, I wrote a book, published a book, and I found myself just laser focused on getting the book done. And I would be, go home, go to get my, we supposed to go leave and get my kids at like 4 o'clock. And like, I would find sometimes I'm just like sitting there and just like 4:45. I'm like, oh shit, I haven't even gotten my kids yet. They've been at school for like over almost an hour longer than they were supposed to do aftercare. And then I get home and I run back to the computer to start like typing and stuff. And then, it's like 6:30 and my wife's like, hey, have you started dinner yet? And I'm like, oh no. So I'm just sort of like, but it's one of those things where I guess like if you don't, if you didn't have a family, maybe those things aren't as important, or if you had a different family setup, maybe someone else is getting the kids or someone else is cooking dinner, it might not be as big of a deal. It's kind of interesting. I find it interesting you mentioned like if you don't want to. And I'm just curious if you could just talk a little bit more about like that. Do you have any advice on anybody who's like thinking about that work-life balance? How does someone with ADHD manage that? I mean, we've talked about a lot of tips and things from managing it in general, creativity and things like that. But when it comes to work-life balance, is there some specific tips or tricks that you've found help to manage that work-life balance piece?
First of all, is putting micro stuff. You got to put in micro stuff of what you need. That's better than nothing. The micro meditation, micro breathing, micro being outside, at least looking outside through the window, having a light therapy. All these little things you can do to start your game up because, it's like having little things in that you can do and start making a system for that. And a routine is very important. Like your coffee routine is very important. And it's like, if you don't drink coffee, drink uncaffeinated coffee or tea, non-caffeine, and you still do it. And then use MCT oil, which is great for the brain, gives you energy. And you start your day with that and the process for your body fast.
I just started doing that recently.
That's great.
What is it? Just right in my MCT, it's coconut oil, but you want to talk a little about that? Because I found Bulletproof makes a brand that I like, and I've been putting that in my oat milk, and I get, like thicken up my oat milk a little bit. Anyway, you go ahead, tell me a little bit about MCT. I'm curious.
Yeah, so MCT, gives you energy and focus really quick and doesn't go through the liver or whatever it is. So you can, get energy quick, especially if people fast, which it does help with your brain to focus better. You're not bogged down by stuff. So, starting a day with caffeinated or uncaffeinated drink and then having MCT oil and then getting things done, that could be helpful. Preferably you exercise, then do caffeine and MCT oil, some protein. It'll be great, like 1 hour after, because the medicines work better 1 hour after you exercise, which is not a surprise because exercise gives you 2 to 4 hours of focus. So making sure you time that and then you can get most out of your focus. And then you set up your system. If you're just like covered in under like a, blanket and doing work, that's great. That's for like hunting blinds to focus. But if you need creativity, you maybe need to make sure that you kind of like give yourself open space, then kind of get into the creativity. It's all about setting up the environment, just like for the user experience on a website. You got to set up yourself. Who are you? Be your own case study. Research yourself. That's very important. Making sure that I'm all about like biohacking your body. Like we don't need all the fancy biohack stuff. A lot of stuff is basic, and that you can get it in your life. So you can, some things is just like simple. It's like the sauna, infrared sauna, steam room. That stuff is great a couple of times a week to get stress out, or just soaking your feet in Epsom salt with essential oils or something, or just doing a bath, or making sure you take a shower for 5 to 15 minutes before you sleep to take out stress. And if you can handle it, do cold water on your face to stimulate your focus versus just drinking caffeinated thing. Avoid the phone for 1 hour after you wake up and 1 hour at least before bed.
Oh God, the phone,
Adjusting.
I'm so bad. I am
Yeah.
so bad about the phone. I am so
Yeah.
bad about the
So it's
phone.
like that phone. It's like iPhone is, it's you got to have a phone phobia almost to get rid of it, or a flip phone. So making sure that you create boundaries with people and your phone, and supporting your strengths and focusing on energizing stuff so you can get creative. So you can get much as creative juice out of you and then do that stuff we hate. So you got to make sure that you are the most important user at the end of the day. And if you don't study yourself, then the people at Google will.
That is true. All right, Henry. So we've got a few questions that I like to ask all my guests to help our listeners get to know our guests a little bit better. Do you have a few more minutes to stick around and answer some ridiculously silly questions to help everybody get to know you a little bit?
Yeah, no worries.
All right, let's do it. All right, man. First up, what is your favorite non-design podcast? It's a podcast not about UX design.
It would be Jeremy's, but
Get out of here. Get out of
get
here.
out of here. Too easy. Before I don't have one because I'm not too attached to it. I'm just attached to learning about learning stuff. When I really got into biohacking and during COVID and started listening, a lot of it was just bulletproof podcasts. Now Dave Asprey podcast. I listen to that a lot to get stuff. It was just whatever pikes my interest.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite meal? This could be something you've cooked, your grandma used to cook, something you've had out at a restaurant, vacation. Favorite meal?
My own food.
Yeah. What do you cook?
I cook simple. Cook very human based, light cook, but tasty stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
homemade ice cream, homemade
Ooh.
cake, homemade Italian ice, steaks. No, I didn't make. I mean, I do love sushi though too, or raw fish, tacos, of course. Pizza. Well, so the tacos and pizza. I don't really make myself or haven't done. But it's like when I was in keto, I just steak, keto ice cream, vegetables, French fries. I do cassava yuca French fries, which I like better than French fries, and they're healthier baked. So yeah, that stuff. Of course, my answer would be like, I don't want one meal before I die. I want a whole buffet. Give me everything. let me try even extinct animals. I want to do that. So that's. I mean, I was going to really just say buffet of everything.
Buffet of everything. Just can't decide on one thing. You just eat it all. That's all right.
Bite of everything. Yep.
This next question might be hard for you too. What is your favorite vacation spot?
Okay, that's a hard one. I'm just gonna say my mind when I'm in the zone. It's just like you feel so like floating in air of like creativity. It's like such an amazing feeling. The problem solving creativity, ideas just bouncing and just being in the zone. So that's like vacation.
The day trip in your head.
Yes, day trip
That's
in
the
my
one.
head. No baggage needed. Yeah.
That's nice. It's cheaper. I love it, dude. All right. Last one. What is your favorite design tool that is not Figma?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. All right. All right. I'll allow it. All right, man. Well, that was fun. So, Henry, before we get out of here, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you? Give yourself a plug. Let everyone know where they can sign up for your coaching or newsletter, anything you got. Give yourself a little plug.
Yeah. So, first, ADHD is a different operating system, not a flaw. And each of us have a different, custom built operating system. So, you're vibrant, you're messy, and full of potential. So, you got to embrace your strengths and work with your challenges, not weaknesses, so you can create the best life that you want. And you can find out more about me at ADHDcoachingnearme.com, which I probably will change it. But you can get a free resource so you can tame the chaos, a practical guide for ADHD UX designers. So packed with actionable tips to enhance focus, creativity, and workflow. So master ADHD and master your life. So you can download that at tinyurl.com/ADHDUX. So once again, it's tinyurl.com/ADHDUX. Your brain was built for brilliance. So be amazing.
All right, Henry. Well, thanks so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I hope other people listening learned quite a bit about ADHD, some tips and tricks, things they can do to overcome, to tame the beast. And I really appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Well, all right, y'all. That's it for Henry and me for today. I hope we helped to shed a little bit of light on ADHD and how you can overcome some of the pitfalls, some of the negative things that are associated with ADHD to still be a very high performer and get your job done. And remember, 1 in 4 American adults think they may have ADHD but have not been diagnosed. If you think that's you, for the love of God, please go find some help. Talk to a doctor, get diagnosed, and figure out a path forward. But I'm curious, have you been struggling with ADHD? How did you overcome it, or have you not overcome it? Did you default to meds, or have you tried to go the non-medication route, kind of like I did? It's been a struggle, but I think I'm doing okay. But I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think on LinkedIn, or shoot me an email at hello@beyonduxdesign.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you like what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you feel like you're getting something out of the show, I would love it if you left a 5-star review. That would help me out so much more than you know. And if you know somebody who might find any of this stuff useful, then why don't you tell them about it? That would be fantastic. Don't forget to check out the Beyond UX Design shop. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/shop to pick up some big, beautiful UX theme art prints and digital downloads you can print yourself. Get your paperback copy of Master Your Craft Beyond Pixels and Prototypes. Get free shipping on all orders over $30. And use the code LISTENER to get 10% off your entire order. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/shop to get your print on. Help keep the show independent and ad-free. Check out beyonduxdesign.com/support to find out how. You can join Chris, Siraquan, Stacy, Radu, Megan, Andrew, John, Mark, Kevin, Jason, Michelle, Marty, and many others, and help keep the show independent and ad-free. And you'll get rough transcripts and exclusive access to the entire video library of episodes, including episodes before they're even released. You can get instant access to the video archives right now for as little as $5 a month. And if you've been sitting on building your new website, Wix Studio can help get you there faster. Wix Studio is a powerful platform that lets you create and manage websites easily. And with Wix Studio, you can quickly adapt designs for every device, reuse assets, and my favorite, export from Figma, and much more. Check out beyonduxdesign.com/Wix to start creating today. If you want to transform your career from fuzzy to focus, make sure to grab UX Playbook's Fast Track Bundle. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/playbook and use the promo code BEYOND for nearly $25 off all those examples, videos, and tips handcrafted by my buddy Chris Wynn. Remember to sign up for the newsletter and check out all the past episodes along with all the show notes at beyonduxdesign.com. I hope you keep coming back for more great UX tips from Beyond UX Design. And until next time, remember, you're more than a designer because there's more to UX and design. I'll see you around. Take care, y'all. And because you're all amazing listeners, and because you're all can't talk today, dude.